This video is brought to you by Skillshare.
Yo, Gabriella, you in here? Gabriella! There you are. Your old man asked me to make sure you're okay.
Mille grazie. I am grateful for your assistance. The work we do here is very important. Let me give you something for your trouble.
Like a kiss.
I was thinking of this.
Oh, that's even better.
Alright, listen, this game is a trip back in time. The first Serious Sam was released back in 2001 and it played like this. And today, it plays like this. Serious Sam 4 asks the question, what if game design stood still for 19 years? Have the boomers who played and loved the original Serious Sam been frozen in cryosleep all that time, completely unawares of Call of Duty, Halo, Doom, Wolfenstein, and a plethora of other first-person shooters that have advanced the genre over the last 2 decades? When they awake, will their boomer brains enhance the strong throwback vibes, the PS2 graphics, and the dad jokes that underpin Serious Sam 4? For what it's worth, I predict a hung jury. I think most people are going to laugh at this for being pretty awful, but I think some people are going to get a kick out of returning to an era where shooters were deliberately dumb. And I mean like really dumb. Okay, so we're clear, let's go over the basics. Serious Sam 4 is a linear, mission-based first-person shooter. You play as Sam the Serious, a man with more than just a passing resemblance to Max Payne who's decided that the prevailing male body image is just too oppressive, so he's bringing back the dad bod with a vengeance. It's not just contemporary notions of beauty he's railing against though, it's also aliens. Lots and lots of aliens. The core conceit of Serious Sam is, what if more? It's no exaggeration to say that you can have over 100 enemies on screen at once, making Serious Sam feel more like some sort of first-person RTS where you're playing as the hero unit. If you've never played Serious Sam before, you'd be forgiven for thinking that this is just some mindless ridiculousness with no method to its madness whatsoever. I mean, I called it dumb earlier, and it is, but it's actually subtly clever in its ability to maintain some sort of structural integrity as more and more aliens are sprayed at you like a fire hose to the face. Each of Serious Sam's arenas could be waved away as just an experiment in console command enemy spawn abuse, but the reality is they're carefully constructed, introducing you to new enemies at a steady pace, combining them with other enemies and level design, throwing in some new weapons and upgrades at very regular intervals, and then just dialing up the madness to 11 before giving the player a quick pat on the ass to wish them luck. It all holds together. I played this game for like 15 hours on normal difficulty, and I was constantly challenged in the right way. Encounters were breathless, white-knuckle rides where it felt like I had just the right amount of ammo and just the right amount of health, and there were so many enemies that when I made it to each checkpoint, I could like unclench and breathe a sigh of relief. It's not easy to create a game with this much mayhem and for it to all still function and not feel like bullshit. But while I was challenged, I was also just extremely bored. Serious Sam succeeds in its goal of just being a game where you shoot lots of aliens, but it at no point sets its sights any higher than that. It's just old, man, like it's fucking old, and not in a timeless way like Mario 64 still feels as crisp as the day it was made. It feels old like Tomb Raider 1 feels old, like Outrun feels old. It has a retro tourism quality, like you're peering through time and remarking, oh, so this is how they used to do this thing. Which is nice until the nostalgia goggles fog up and you remember how far we've come since then. Level design is perhaps the biggest culprit here. Serious Sam 4's levels are a mix of really repetitive city streets and Roman ruins, punctuated by the obligatory wide open space to facilitate one of its classic wave-based showdowns. Every level is just flat and narrow or flat and wide. There's no verticality whatsoever, meaning that your movements are only ever in 2 dimensions. Fucking GoldenEye had more verticality than this. The lack of level design is actually a huge regression from previous Serious Sam games. I played the originals back in the day, I mean that was a long time ago, so I had to go back and look at old gameplay clips, and I was really surprised at how much environment variety there was in Serious Sam 2. Aztec villages, giant rainforests, China maybe, a volcano, a city in the clouds. There are a lot of environments there. Here in Serious Sam 4, there are so few environments, and they're all just so phoned in and bare bones. One level is literally just the exact same as the previous mission, only you're doing it in reverse and it's on fire. I really couldn't believe just how bad environment and level design was in this game. More fundamental is the circle strafing, backwards running combat that characterized a lot of early 2000s action shooters and is still just untouched here. Circle strafing is exactly that, constantly strafing in a circle because enemy AI isn't smart enough to throw projectiles where you're going to be, meaning that if you circle strafe, you're essentially invulnerable in most cases. The running backwards thing really takes on new meaning in a post-Doom 2016 era. id Software famously coined the term push forward combat, which is a focus on the player building forward momentum through glory kills, providing health and ammo sustain. It was a tactic designed to stop people from just hanging back and picking off enemies at a distance. Serious Sam has always been and is still the exact opposite of that. You are always just pushing the S key here, running backwards in a slight circle to avoid the swarms of enemies trying to give you dynamite-infused hugs. This is ultimately the key failure of Serious Sam 4, the failure to evolve in any way this specific part of the gameplay loop. You can look at games like Dynasty Warriors or Hyrule Warrior, whatever it's called, and see a template for how a hero unit can survive against hundreds of enemies without giving ground. If you'd have taken something like that, combined it with some Doom 2016, maybe thrown in some DMC-inspired spectacle fighter razzle-dazzle, you could have had a formula that kept the focus on utter mayhem, but that made the player feel like they were doing more than just that backwards ice skating thing. So you've got repetitive shooting and repetitive map design. What do they use to break up the monotony? Well, there's this.
Oh, yes!
Metal Gear.
And then there's this one particularly charming sequence where I'm driving a combine harvester. These sequences are the guilty pleasures they appear to be, where the press of a space button can carpet bomb an area the size of a small state. They are mindless, they are goofy, but damn it if they aren't fun as hell. Eventually, these sequences will end, and it's usually then a hop, skip, and a jump to the next boss encounter. Here's how they typically play out.
For some reason, I just don't approve of people eating my friends. I'm gonna cut you into little pieces.
Serious Sam has a number of boss encounters, most of which are over in a few seconds after you simply fire off enough rockets in their general vicinity. There's one boss that's actually pretty great, a giant crab thing that takes over the entire Colosseum. It's definitely the exception to the rule though, since Serious Sam 4's boss encounters are typically just introducing a new enemy type without even so much as small adds to spice up the encounter. What else breaks up the monotony? Well, there's this lady.
My old bones are no good for the close combat.
What is it about grannies that makes them so hard to disobey?
For all its faults, I found Serious Sam kind of funny. I mean, it's definitely a lot of boomer humor, a lot of dad jokes. Listen to this.
Looks like Ackerman ordered the lobster, and I'm gonna have to pick up the tab. What a crab-evading location. Stop being so shellfish. I'll turn you into a crab cake, a colossal carnivorous crab. It's a crustacean alliteration.
Sam as a protagonist is also kinda cool. As outdated as the game feels, Sam has aged like a fine wine, a pre-modern last action hero for our uncertain times.
When they started drafting young arachnoids for his army, the Resistance saw an opportunity to sabotage Tahum's operations from the inside.
Cool.
In a weird way, I almost look forward to the cutscenes, not only because they were a break from the relentless gameplay, but also because Sam was often legitimately funny. Right, so what else? This game looks like arse. The minute I saw the reveal trailer, I was like, what the fuck? Is this running on a PSP? This game looks old. There are some very flat textures here. The lighting engine is essentially non-existent. Stepping into an internal space is like getting sucked into a black hole where no light can escape. I get that Crow Team are working with limited resources and all. Damn, this is one fucking ugly game. The upside of this though is that it generally runs pretty well. I have a 2080 Ti and an i7 8700K. I was impressed with how solid the frame rate was, even when my entire screen was filled up with bad guys and blood and guts. Like the core gameplay loop, it looks old, it feels old, but it still maintains that structural integrity. It doesn't fall apart. Except when it crashes, which it did for me like 8 times. The audio mix is a very, very big problem. Sound effects sound like they were recorded 20 years ago on a mini disc player. They add to the retro charm, but they also just suck. Character audio also sounds very inconsistent, like some of the voice actors were recording through a ham radio. The biggest issue though is the blending of the soundtrack, which will thunder in large the moment you fire a bullet and then sometimes just immediately shut off when the action is over. So look, what do I think about this game? Is this game good? No. Do I recommend it? No. Who should buy this then? You should buy this game if you are someone who has a real soft spot for the franchise and you just want to revisit it. Though, ironically enough, I think these people will be the most disappointed out of anyone who plays this game. You should buy this game if you want to play some dumb co-op with a friend, because yes, this does support co-op. You should buy this if you're just down for some mindless, high-octane, dad joke-fueled boomer fun. If you're okay with a really outdated sort of experience and you just wanted to have some fun, this does that. I actually did have fun with this on balance. I laughed. I definitely looked at some of the arenas and thought, man, that was some intense shit, well done. But on the whole, I just couldn't keep the words of this dude out of my head.
You are not only outnumbered, but outdated. A relic from a time when people believed in heroes and causes and freedom.
Yep.
If you're finding yourself with a little bit of free time on your hands these days, you may want to check out Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of classes for creative and curious people on topics including illustration, design, photography, video, freelancing, and more. On Skillshare, millions of members come together to find inspiration and take the next step in their creative journey. This isn't just about looking up how to use your new camera, this is about saying, I want to become a photographer. Skillshare's online learning courses are put together by experts in their fields, and taking part in these courses allows you to connect directly with those creators and with other students. You get to build a community around the thing that you're passionate about, supercharging your ambition and creativity. I got started on a platform very similar to this, and 4 or 5 years later, here I am now on YouTube doing my thing. I really recommend this stuff to you. To get started, click the link in the description below, and as an added bonus, the first 1,000 people who click the link get 2 months of Skillshare Premium free. Thanks Skillshare for sponsoring the video, and thank you for watching it. Thanks for watching my video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down so I know to do better for next time. If you enjoyed yourself, consider subscribing, and if you really enjoyed yourself, maybe consider hitting that notification bell so you never miss a video. You can see my patrons here on the left. They're awesome. They're amazing. If you want to join them, check out my Patreon page. Thank you again. I'll see you next time.